What up? What up? What up? Welcome. Another edition of the program here. The Robin Lundberg Show, as it is called, as it is referred to, since that is my name. I am the Robin Lundberg. What's going on, everybody? Hope you had a great weekend. Not that weekends really matter so much for me. It all blends together. But I did disconnect yesterday for a little while, which was nice. Right after I saw the stuff that came out about Christine Brennan's book and Dejanay Carrington. I'm going to get to a bunch of things today, including WNBA All-Star and why I love the WNBA All-Star game, what it means in a sense that it still has meaning. And then the whole Unrivaled conflict of interest deal that unraveled over the weekend regarding the CBA and regarding what Nafisa Collier said to somebody online. But let's start with the Christine Brennan book. I feel like that's the topic I haven't really covered. And I would say this, people are doing a really good job promoting it for her. I mean, for the folks who are against the Brennan notion or the promotion, they surely are doing a lot of promoting for her. I mean, Dejanay Carrington probably promoted the book as well as it could possibly be promoted yesterday. If you didn't see, CNN published some excerpts from Brennan's book, and those were, did enough to really draw some attention. This was in regards to DeWanna Bonner. Just a couple of minutes after Carrington's interview session was over and she walked away, I was standing near the other reporters at the side of the court when her teammate DeWanna Bonner walked toward me. "You disrespected my teammate," she said. "I put out my hand and tried to introduce myself, but Bonner did not want to shake it. You attacked my teammate," she said. I motioned to my phone in my hand. "Can I tell you what I said?" She was happy to show her the video, and Bonner kept saying, "You disrespected and attacked my teammate," which gives a little insight perhaps into DeWanna Bonner's personality, gives some insight into her being a protective teammate on one side, but also toward the reaction that some WNBA players have had towards the line of questioning Brennan had with Dejanay Carrington after the eye poke. And at the time, let me reset for a second. At the time, I never thought it was on purpose. And then that slow-mo video came out and that caused the whole controversy. Now, I will say, since then, Dejanay Carrington has been a habitual line stepper and has been reckless enough on the court where that is fair to question. Her recklessness on the court is fair to question. It is a pattern. And anybody who's being honest can see a pattern there. At the time, I never thought anything of the eye poke, but it did blow up enough online where I don't think it was out of pocket to address. Now, I didn't like the way Brennan phrased her question at the time. It was almost too accusatory, but the question itself, I mean, those are the kind of questions, those are big boy and girl pants questions. That happens when you're a part of a league that has as much attention now that the WNBA has. So that was one aspect of it. And the DeWanna Bonner angle of it is interesting now because we saw what happened with her in the Fever. And, you wonder if some of those traits didn't exactly fit in with what the Fever got going on either, because DeWanna Bonner herself said it was not a good fit. I don't know if that was just because she wasn't starting or what else happened there, but the Fever have been better since Bonner left anyway. So I don't think that really matters to revisit too much at this point, but it was just interesting. Then there was another section in the book where Indianapolis Fieldhouse Files Fever beat writer Scott Agnes, Indianapolis Star Fever beat writer Chloe Peterson, and I were in the otherwise empty catering area. That's an important bit of information I'll get to in a second. Waiting for the shoot-around to end on the court nearby when Carrington surprised us with her appearance between the curtains. "Why are you talking shit about Melissa?" she blurted out loudly, referring to her partner, Melissa Smith, the Fever forward. The question surprised the three of us because no one was saying anything personal or derogatory about Smith. Agnes and Peterson had been discussing a bit of Fever strategy they had just noticed on the court, but had been asked not to divulge publicly that Smith was going to be replaced in the starting lineup for Game 2 by veteran teammate Temi Fagbenle. You're saying she's a bad teammate, Carrington yelled. She then looked at me specifically. I walked past and I heard you talking shit about Melissa. It was you out of your mouth. So on and so forth. That wasn't the end of it. Smith strode toward me. Do you have something to say? I'm always happy to talk to you, Brennan replied. Regardless, the important bit of this information is that this went to PR, and apparently, according to Brennan's account, this was confirmed by Agnes and Peterson, her account of the story, which is important because she's not using those names for no reason. She's using those names to support her takeaway and her point of view and her account of the story. So after these excerpts are published, Dejanay Carrington goes online and she had something to say about the excerpts. I mean, this is what they must be about. She said, Pinocchio, Cap, laughing. And then she also posted, where did she post the defamation of character? Defamation of character at this point. So, I don't know if I've ever recalled a backlash to a single reporter to the extent that we saw here, even from that. Remember the WNBA PA statement last year blasting Brennan, so the league as a whole blasting Brennan. So there is some controversy there, no question. And I'll say this, I think Brennan has gone a little bit OD with the whole Caitlin Clark is the only thing that matters story. Like, I've said it to you and I keep it with you straight. Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the WNBA success, women's basketball success, all that stuff. Like the driving force, and anybody saying otherwise is out of their mind, right? Like it is on the record, facts, empirical data backs it up, all that stuff. But that doesn't mean you have to like boom, 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 boom. When you get it, you get it. You can push back when people say otherwise. But I do think Brennan has, in promoting her book, perhaps gone a little overboard with that particular, pointing it out every time. Here, the ratings are down, this and that. Now, it does feed into the central, perhaps, selling point, which is the Olympics story. And I do believe the Olympics snub is going to live on forever. I think that is something that will be talked about forever. Not only because Caitlin Clark was good enough to be on that team, but because it was staggering that they wouldn't select her given her popularity and what it could mean. Now, at the same time, when the players attack Brennan, that is her reputation on the line. And she is a long-standing journalist. So, I have a very, very hard time believing she's just making things up. That part, look, you can disagree with an opinion or the way thing might be slanted, but the facts are the facts. And the fact that she specifically referenced the other reporters who were there to back up her account and has the quotes from the account and put that in print, I do not believe that she would make things up. That, to me, is a bridge too far. So a lot of this stuff is in the past, but I think it's interesting. And ultimately, what does it accomplish? Book promotion for Christine Brennan. So congratulations to Dejanay Carrington for being the number one promoter of Christine Brennan's Caitlin Clark book, because that's what happened yesterday. Let's get to WNBA All-Stars announced, right? And I'm not going to go over the specific names per se. That's not the important part to me. One thing that I do think is very interesting is just how much meaning the WNBA All-Star game still has. That is cool to me because, Caitlin Clark's been out, right? And Caitlin Clark has been in and out of the lineup, but I think it is important for her to play in the All-Star game, which is a wild thing to say. right? And I expect, by the way, I fully expect Caitlin Clark to play on Wednesday. I believe we're probably getting fever practice later today. We'll get an update, but let's just say I would be stunned if she's not playing on Wednesday. I do believe Caitlin Clark's about to be back in the lineup and will be ready before All-Star and all that stuff. But that is kind of intriguing in a sense, because generally, like, All-Stars have gone down, All-Star games across the board in interest. But last year, the WNBA All-Star game was the most viewed event on the WNBA calendar. It was number one, the number one most viewed thing in the whole season. Now, it had the built-in Caitlin Clark versus the Olympians storyline, which it was great. But there's some stories here too. You got Fever versus everybody. Let's see if Caitlin Clark can get Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston on her team. And the Fever versus everybody thing is not just made up either, because you heard Clark. She may have been a little bit skewed by her celebration, but you heard what she said. They're going to be sick. The league is going to be sick. Those are words that came out of her mouth. So that, is worth noting. And then you also have Cheryl Reeve coaching Caitlin Clark. And that brings the Team USA thing full circle. Cheryl Reeve, of course, was the coach of Team USA. She wasn't officially a part of the selection committee, but she has shaded Caitlin Clark in the past. Or not Caitlin Clark directly, sorry. The attention around Caitlin Clark in the past. So that is a little bit of an intrigue. And by the way, Cheryl Reeve's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. She's a great coach, and I'm interested to see her and Cece link up just because of that storyline and because of Cheryl Reeve's penchant for not biting her tongue. So I just wanted to note that it was worth it is worth celebrating what All-Star Weekend still means. And I'll be out in Indianapolis for All-Star. I'm going out there Thursday. I'll be out through Sunday. So I'll get you guys as much coverage as I can. But I just wanted to point that out because I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that the WNBA All-Star game still has that level of attention and notoriety, and maybe is the biggest All-Star game in sports in a certain. Baseball still got some juice. Baseball has the home run and all that. The NBA All-Star game has become a cluster. But if Caitlin Clark participates in the three-point shootout for WNBA All-Star and then participates in the game, that's all going to only increase the hype. But I think it's wild to think, but for an exhibition, it is important for Caitlin Clark, unless she's injured. It is important for her to be a part of that, which you wouldn't really necessarily say about other sports and All-Star games. You wouldn't say. So there's that. And then the last bit was this. This garnered some attention over the weekend because Nafisa Collier responded to it, which was this post here. Evelyn said, so let me get this straight. Breanna Stewart is WNBA PA president. Nafisa Collier is VP. By the way, Breanna Stewart is not the Players Association president. She's a VP also. Nneka Ogwumike is the Players Association president. So got to make sure we're factually correct there. They co-founded Unrivaled, a league that benefits if there's a WNBA lockout, and they're the ones leading the CBA negotiations. How do you negotiate in good faith? And Nafisa Collier said, so let me get this straight. While everyone else was enjoying fireworks, you were thinking about how me and Stewie, of all people, are conspiring to force a lockout that would result in less money year-round for WNBA players. So let me actually unpack this for a second. The conflict of interest aspect of it. That's the first thing. And is there an argument for a conflict of interest? I suppose so, right? They run a basketball league. and the WNBA is a basketball league. Now, I think where Collier takes offense is personally, and I don't believe most people would believe that Nafisa Collier wouldn't be acting in the best interest of the players, or Breanna Stewart wouldn't be acting in the best interest of the players. And you could also easily argue that their acumen and experience with Unrivaled helps them understand these negotiations better, right? Like that's part of it. And then the one thing I would say lastly on this, just as an important point, is I do not believe Unrivaled benefits if there's no WNBA. I think that hurts Unrivaled tremendously. Like I think people are looking at it a little too simplistically. Like if there was no WNBA, then Unrivaled would be the only game in town. But I think Unrivaled is a game in town because of the WNBA, because of the attention that the WNBA has brought to these players. And then that interest carries over to Unrivaled. If there's a huge gap, that interest goes away. And I hate to say it, but unless Caitlin Clark were to sign up and play, I don't think that helps Unrivaled in any way. I mean, the single biggest thing that could help Unrivaled is Caitlin Clark playing. Let's just, cut to the chase. That's why it was so discussed and so bandied about before. Now, with that said, I wish Unrivaled success, and I think what they're doing is tremendous, and they're trying. A lot of the players who played at Unrivaled have done well in the WNBA, and Alex Bizel, who I talked to before, the president, talked about their development being key, and they seem to have held to that. And I suppose I can entertain the argument that, I haven't gotten to see these players play, and now I get to see them play. But I think the relationship is supposed to be symbiotic. So that is, I don't think, I don't, I guess it didn't rile me up at all because I just don't question the motives of Fee and Stewie. So there you have it. All right, let me get to the comments. Member chats, super chats go first. As always, Kevin Zwicker kicks it off. Every few weeks, the league has unnecessary drama. It's so annoying. I just wish one of these days we could focus on ball because the W has dogs. Yeah, I mean, look, it's also a long season. There's it's not that long a season, but you know what I mean. There's going to be a lot of good games coming up, and especially as we get toward the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy talking basketball, but there is more drama in the WNBA than any league I've ever covered before. There's no question. There are more dynamics at play, right? There are more dynamics at play than I've ever seen before either. As far as like sensitivity, social media activity, people trying to throw like racial narratives and sexual preference narratives into all these like different things that just become part of get thrown into the conversation regularly that I was never used to before. Lauren Allen, Reeve wasn't happy that only 2 Lynx players are all-stars. Teams below them in the rankings have 3 players. About Fever. Coaching will be interesting. Look, I mean, Cheryl Reeve's not a dummy, right? Unless she's instructed to limit Caitlin Clark's minutes because of injury, she's not going to be knocking Caitlin or holding Caitlin back or anything like that. She knows this is a showcase for the fans. She knows Caitlin Clark is a show. She knows it's in Indianapolis. So I wouldn't really worry about that. Guys, again, when you do these things, your simple-mindedness is charming at times, Robin. Then give me the example of my simple-mindedness. I am fine with the critiques and the criticism, and I highlight stuff like this because I need to put it on blast. Tell me, you can't just say stuff like that without backing up why you're calling me simple-minded. Otherwise, how do you expect me to respond? There was another comment here I saw that I want to make sure I point out because it's some of these things are just important to clarify and note. Tiffany says Caitlin Clark is not needed for Unrivaled. The players who are all-stars are 80% from Unrivaled. Yeah, well, look, I second point, I think Unrivaled has helped players, no question. But the first point, needed, we'll see, Caitlin Clark is the single biggest possible variable for Unrivaled as far as success. If she were playing, it's guaranteed to be a success. This is not me standing or pom-pom waving or none of that. That, it just seems that there is a resistance sometimes to acknowledge what is simple, evident, and plain. I mean, even when Carolyn Peck did the thing about I'm trying to recognize the other Indiana Fever players. I mean, Caitlin Clark's going to get more attention than everybody else. She draws more viewers. She draws more clicks. She draws more everything. More dollars. Everything. Now, that does not mean the other players aren't great. That does not mean I'm not rooting for Unrivaled without Caitlin Clark, any of those things, because I am. I've been very supportive of Unrivaled. And I think Fever fans are, supportive of the Fever team too. I don't buy this idea that they haven't been supportive of the Fever team. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Get those chats in. Member chats, super chats go first, of course. As I said, anything happened since I've been on the air here? I saw Angel Reese go off on the officials last week too, or yesterday too. A lot of people have been going off on the officials. Thank you, Susan. Oh, sorry, I did not mean to put that. These chats are going so fast. I hit the wrong one. Hit the like and subscribe. Thank you. Somebody said they had to be nice to me today. I don't even know. Well, Nancy, the Unrivaled barely broke even. Unrivaled got close to breaking even. The W is still losing money, but you also have to remember some of this stuff, you always have to deal in facts, right? So the WNBA, yes, still lost money. Everybody acted as if the WNBA losing money last year was some shocking revelation because of all the success that came. But it's really not surprising at all if you think about it. Because what really happened was none of the money has come in yet, or the big money hasn't come in yet. They signed the new media rights deal off of last year, and that's going to triple their media rights, essentially. That has not hit yet. So a lot of the benefits from last season have not hit yet. The WNBA has been losing money for a long time. It's been subsidized by the NBA. That's why some of the NBA owners are looking for more return on their investment. What's up, Brett? Thank you for joining. I will make sure we're doing a member event in July. You can mark that down for the members. Member chats, super chats go first. Let me look and see if I've got people yell at me for taking too long. Everyone's taking too long in the chat sometimes. I do my best, man. Chris Ward, how are you? And then I don't, I do the monologue first. So my basic thought process is you get my thoughts, you get my take. And then if you want to hang around for the chat portion of the show, you hang around for the chat portion of the show. And you could bear with me if, I'm taking a second to figure out what I'm putting on screen and what I'm responding to, especially as many chats as I got, but maybe I do need the mod. Kudos to Angel for calling out the refs. Well, Tiffy, Brennan is not well known to lie. That's not sensationalized. You could say, if you want to say she's sensationalizing the narratives, fine. That's a subjective argument. Objectively, she's not known to lie. I don't know, we have, just because Cheryl Reeve said something is fiction doesn't mean it's a lie. Because Cheryl Reeve did indeed post those things that Christine Brennan referenced. I mean, that is a matter of fact. So just because we don't like something doesn't mean we can call it untrue and a lie. And you don't have to like what Christine Brennan is doing or how she's promoting her book. That you don't have to like. But that and it being a lie are two wildly different things. And, Christine Brennan's been doing this a long time. And I just find it hard to believe that she would lie. Extremely hard to believe that she would lie. John, if Brennan lied in her book, they can sue her ass off. So either they put up or shut up. No, they're not going to sue her. I mean, first of all, to prove some of these things, you need to prove it's false and malicious, right? I believe that's how the law works in some of these cases. And let's be real. Brennan's telling the truth or very close to the truth about her accounts of this. She has it printed with corroborating witnesses. Like, I'm not taking everything she says as gospel, trust me. But she ain't stupid enough to just make things up about somebody, lie, and put them in print for a book that's going to be sold nationwide, worldwide. Let's be real. Let's be real about it. Brett says, Robin, not sure if you saw this, but I say CC back July 13th, Dallas Page. I say CC back Wednesday. You can clown me if I'm wrong. You can clown me if I'm wrong. But I have it on good authority that Caitlin Clark is planning to play Wednesday. Sue Ellen Buchanan, I'm sorry if I missed this, but are there any updates on Bonner? No updates on DeWanna Bonner. As far as where she's going to wind up. Look, I don't think there's much value to DeWanna Bonner right now. With her age, the way she played and the way that ended, somebody will maybe pick her up, but I don't think they're knocking on doors. Chris Ward says, I don't think the players understand they have little leverage with the owners on the CBA and the shorter term financials aren't there. They aren't using their best asset, CC. Well, I mean, that's the elephant in the room for any CBA negotiation is how important Caitlin Clark is to the success or failure of the league. I mean, it's the best thing that's ever happened to the league, but it's problematic when so much of it is in one investment. Now, I am of the belief that the more people are around, the more it'll continue to grow. But I also think it should be a lesson to the players and the leadership to embrace it. I mean, the more they embrace it and welcome it, the more those people who come in feel welcomed. And then the more that they absorb everything else. And I think that's been lost a little bit is the idea, like in rebuffing the attention around Clark and her individual star power and that being the lion's share, in kind of revolting against that, you send the wrong message to the people who came in. Because a lot of those people who came in for that are the ones who are helping build everything else. And the further you get from that, the less it is the central talking point once those people do feel welcomed and they're under the umbrella. But the more it continues to be a topic of conversation, that their jealousy, pettiness, and I'm not even saying that applies to specific people, but the more those talking points exist, the more those people who came in feel alienated. That's my read of the situation. John, thank you for the generous super chat as well. Member chats, super chats. Go first. KDB, CC tried to get bonuses for every player when they were moving Fever games to bigger arenas. The league said they couldn't because of the CBA. Yeah, that was an account. But yeah. Thank you, David Spriggs. When I said that was an account, that was the former Fever team president relaying that account. Thank you, David Spriggs. I don't know what I'm going for, but you seem to agree with something I said there. Like, subscribe, all that. I mean, and again, on the Christine Brennan thing, because I see a lot of chats on that. You are entitled to feel how you feel about the way Christine Brennan has spun the narratives or the way that she has promoted her book. That, fair game. I think when you start to question whether she's telling the truth or not, and calling her a liar, that's where you cross over into the wrong territory. Because why would she why would she lie? Joyce Ritchie, thank you for the sticker. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Sorry, just approving something. Chicago Cheetah says lockout incoming. We'll see. These things always are I've covered enough sports. They're always like this. The CBA negotiations. Ain't nothing new. Ain't nothing new. Yo, y'all. 1,000+ concurrents in here again. Pretty badass, if I do say so myself. Member chats, super chats. Again, we'll do a member event this July. But anytime there's more than 1,000 people in here at the same time, pretty damn cool. Rick T says CC has been really spirited and active on the sideline. She appears to get ready to get back to work. Oh, I'm telling y'all, Caitlin Clark is going to play on Wednesday. She's going to play on Wednesday. I'd be very surprised if not. I mean, if you listen to what Stephanie White said the other day, let me find that. I'm telling this is the translation of this. Is Caitlin Clark is playing against the Valkyries on Wednesday. This was Stephanie White last Thursday, I think. Here's what she said. Courtesy of Tony East.
That she might be available tomorrow.
Well, we went through semi-live shooting drills. I mean, it wasn't really live; it was semi-live shooting drills. Still hasn't gone full speed in a practice or a live defensive.
You see Caitlin Clark behind her, by the way.
She's been getting some 3-on-3 work, on her own. So, I think the biggest thing is, she's stated she's not a fan of minutes restrictions. If there's going to be a minutes restriction, maybe we'll hold her another game. But it's evaluating her again in the morning, seeing what she's done with, however many days there have been of more loading, and make a decision from there. But again, I prioritize the long term, her long-term health and wellness, and making sure that when she comes back, she's 100%.
So look, that is, as close to her saying she's going to be out of the Sparks game, which she was, and back on Wednesday as she could possibly be, to saying it. And you can see Caitlin Clark moving in the background. She's been moving well. Minutes restriction means they may have cleared her to play, right? She's going to play. I'd be very, very surprised if she doesn't play on Wednesday. Brett Goucher says, let's be real. Walk through them all. Ask 100 who is CC, 80 plus know her. Asia Fee, Aaliyah. Look, here's the other thing about it, though. How many more people, this is the honest, the goodness, the truth, right? How many more people know who Asia Wilson is now than did before? I could argue Caitlin Clark has been better for Asia Wilson than anybody else on earth, right? Like the attention and notoriety Asia Wilson has gotten in the last year or so is so much, doesn't change how great she was before. Again, like, people conflate these things. Doesn't mean she wasn't just as good, didn't deserve it before. Doesn't mean any of those things. But it does mean so many more people are aware of her now than were before. Same for Fee. Look at the All-Star votes Fee got. So the exposure for the other players has increased so tremendously. We can't, live in... It's silly to think otherwise. And thank you for the chat. Appreciate it. Well over 1,000 concurrents, guys. I must be pretty cool. All right. I'm about wrapped, though, for today. No, I don't think there's a possible walkout of players at the All-Star game. No. The CBA doesn't expire till after this year. These are par for the course CBA negotiations. Nothing out of the ordinary here. It's not, I've seen leagues lock out before. I've seen leagues strike before. I've seen leagues get close to it and then resolve it. This is not any more contentious than what I've seen before. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Other than it's going to get muddy. No question. That's the way it works. Until there's a deadline. Deadlines spur action. So until there's a deadline for them to reach a deal to avoid a lockout, expect it to be a subplot of the offseason. But to be honest, my advice would be not to pay too much attention to what one person from one side says versus the other person says. T-Smile says, Fever FC friendship bracelet swap at All-Star game, Robin. So do you need me to make a bracelet? But yes, sure. I can get my daughter to make a bracelet if that's what, I don't know what the, But yes, find me or we would talk, hit me up. I'm definitely down to meet everybody there. Brett Atwood said, Dad always taught us deadlines get shit done. Exactly. Deadline spur action. So until there's some sort of deadline, it's going to take some time. Okay, bring bracelets and I'll swap. All right, I'm going to get my daughter to make one. Yes, CC helped Asia tremendously, Jeff. Tremendously. And I stand on that. Not like directly on the basketball court, but from the amount of people who now know who Asia Wilson is. There is probably 5 times increase conservatively. And people, you don't have to like these things. Just like I was saying with Christine Brennan, you don't have to like what she says or how she's promoting her book. That's not the same as ignoring facts or calling somebody a liar. And the same thing for, Asia. You don't have to like that it took Caitlin Clark for her to get so much more attention. But come on, put 2 and 2 together. And it's a good thing. She's helped all of them, Tulip. But I would argue she's helped Asia tremendously. Tremendously. Fee too. Basically everybody, but especially the superstar players who got. I'm sorry, you would not have seen. Remember when Nafisa Collier went on First Take to talk about the sketch, and she talked about how many times the Fever were on national, whatever it was. You would not have seen a WNBA player on First Take. You just wouldn't have seen it. And Asia would not be promoted to the same degree. I do not believe. Sorry, I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. This is not me trying to axe grind or rub anything in or anything. It's just simple truth and common sense. Read the entire book, says Diana. It had very little not already covered by your channel except for the personal chats Brennan had. Well, yeah, I mean, look, that's how you promote something. She's leading with the juiciest stuff, right? So that's probably the juiciest stuff there is, but I appreciate that perspective. This is true. Sabrina's shoes are popular for sure. And not to say nobody was popular or nobody could be popular or nobody could have a shoe or anything, but there are way more people now invested in caring and talking and eyes on it. And that is because of Caitlin Clark. So I don't know what you want to do with that information. It helps. It's going to help Asia Wilson sell shoes. Her shoes may have been released and on the work anyway, but it's going to help. All right. Final chance, likes and subscribes. Any comments in? That'll do it for me here today. My goodness. Still over 1,000 concurrents. Pretty wild. Thank you. Guys, really appreciate them. Like I said, try to be as consistent as I can with these lives now. But having this audience and just being able to, Andre says Angel Reese been popular. Angel Reese, again, sorry, her attachment to Caitlin Clark exploded her popularity. I'm not dancing around or we gotta live in real life, people. And Angel, by the way, she's balling, grabbing boards, scoring at a better degree. I like her taking that, calling out the attention, all that stuff. You also have to separate things like people like to use social media followers are a vanity metric. Doesn't really matter. What matters is butts in seats, eyes on TVs. Those are the real needle moving metrics. I've worked in this business a long time, and I've seen companies hire people because of the amount of TikTok followers they have, and it doesn't make a damn difference once they're talking about a different subject or to a different audience than was gaining off of their TikTok followers. We cannot pretend, everybody love, hate. I don't give a shit. Honestly, I don't care. You can love Caitlin Clark, hate Caitlin Clark, feel neutral about Caitlin Clark, love another player, support another player, hate another player, whatever. It's all sports fandom. As long as we're keeping it within sports fandom, fine. But when you ignore or deny that, the Big Bang Theory is Caitlin Clark, you can't be taken seriously after that. That's all there is to it. All right. Like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Until the next one. Yeet.